Hello, my name's Steve, and recently I started selling some things on eBay, including some vintage books. I have a collection of vintage James Bond books, which I've been trying to sell. Now, James Bond books I've been collecting for a while, and it got to the stage where I thought I didn't really need two, three, four copies of the same book, so I've started selling some off. Originally, I'd started collecting James Bond books when I was a teenager, and over the years, I picked up a few copies. And really, I wanted to get a complete set of the 14 books, that's 12 novels, two short story collections, in the same uniform edition. That never really worked out. I couldn't find the right ones. And now the only complete set that I have in paperback is a 2006 edition by Penguin, each of which has an introduction by a different writer. So what I'll do is I'll show you those first. Now, these I'm not selling because I want to keep these. They were a gift. I don't want to get rid of them. I do quite like them. So I'll talk through those first. What I would say is I'm not a James Bond aficionado. I'm not a huge die-hard fan. I do prefer the books to the films. There are some problems with the characters, some problems with Ian Fleming's views that I know is quite controversial on some things. John le Carre, who is perhaps the best spy writer of the late 20th century, early 21st century, called James Bond an international gangster. Judi Dench's character, M, called James Bond a misogynist dinosaur, and I think those views are correct. However, I do still like the books. I enjoyed reading them. I've read most of them twice, so I'm not going to be a total downer on James Bond, but I have some reservations. But to the books. Now, this 2006 paperback edition from Penguin, what I like about these basically are the covers. I like books anyway, and all these do feel still very new. They have that new book smell still, which is great. But I do like the covers. I think they're stylish. I think they conjure up that 1950s, 60s feel quite well. There are thousands of editions of James Bond going. Uh, this one I do quite like as a paperback. The design carries through onto the back. As you see with this Casino Royale, there's the cards depicting the casino there. Casino Royale has been made into at least three dramatic presentations that I know of. Obviously, there was the recentish Daniel Craig film when he took over the role of James Bond and reinvented the character for the screen slightly. There's also a little-known American drama, black and white drama program adaptation that was only about 30 minutes long, I think, where James Bond worked for the CIA, and Felix Leiter, who we know as James Bond's CIA colleague, worked for British intelligence. So that's an interesting one to look up. I think it's available on YouTube if you look around. And then there was the 1967 comedy parody version with David Niven in the title role, Peter Sellers, Woody Allen's in it, I think. Gert Frobe, who played Goldfinger, was also in it. So this has had quite a big track record. So that's the first James Bond novel which came out in 1953. Number two on the list is Live and Let Die, which was, of course, Roger Moore's first James Bond film. And again, that's got a very distinctive James Bond look about the cover. Obviously, the girl, the skull. This is a bit of a controversial one in that certainly Fleming's portrayal of the black community in New York, somewhat stereotyped. Some people think it's racist. I don't think it would be very hard to put up a case to say that Ian Fleming didn't have racist views, but there you go. It's still an interesting read, an enjoyable read. Not one of the best, I don't think, but that's it is what it is. The third novel, Moonraker. Um, Now, these books, they do have the number, the sequence number there written on the side of the book, so that's quite useful. Moonraker was made into a film with Roger Moore. The film bears no resemblance to this book whatsoever, uh, but there you go. It does have the rocket, and that's as far as it goes, really. So that's Moonraker. Next one up, the fourth James Bond novel, Diamonds Are Forever. You see the diamonds there. Uh, Ian Fleming did write a book about diamond smugglers. Not a book that I have in my possession. I've not seen or read it, but he did quite a lot of research for this book and did write a non-fiction book about diamond smuggling. Next one is From Russia with Love, which John F. Kennedy said was his favourite novel. And again, very nice cover to this book. Next one, Doctor No, which was the first one to be adapted into a film. The film has some plot elements that are very similar to the book, but it does go off in a different direction, particularly at the end. But that was the first James Bond film with Sean Connery. And then we have Goldfinger, that's a terrific book. That is a really good read, very much like the movie. It is about the robbery of Fort Knox, and it's a good read. It is a good read. Next one up is Thunderball. One of the weaker films, I think. A lot of people will probably disagree with me on that, but this is the book. I think is a better read than the film. The plot is pretty similar, I suppose, but again, I would prefer the book any day. Next one up is For Your Eyes Only. Now, For Your Eyes Only is a collection of short stories, and the book again doesn't bear any resemblance, very much resemblance anyway, to the film of the same name. The titles included in here are From a View to a Kill, which was a movie title, For Your Eyes Only, Quantum of Solace, again another movie title, Risico, and the Hildebrand Variety. I think there are some plot elements from these books that did make it into some of the later films. As I say, I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to pick them out for you. But again, that's a nice looking cover. And then we have The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, the interesting thing about The Spy Who Loved Me is that this was really Ian Fleming's reaction to criticism about the character of James Bond, about his amorality and the example that he was setting for young people. And this is a very different book. It's written for the point of view of what would otherwise have been a minor character, and James Bond is kind of an incidental character in the story himself. So again, no relation whatsoever to the Roger Moore film. And then we have On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which a lot of us will know as OHMSS. I saw the George Lazenby film at the cinema when I was a little boy. Probably shouldn't have been allowed to go to see it, but yeah, I did. The plot to the book is very similar to that of the film. In fact, the film had gone back to the books in a big way after You Only Live Twice, which was a completely different plot to the novel. One of the interesting things about the film is that George Lazenby is overdubbed by George Baker, who plays a minor character in the novel, and the character James Bond is supposed to be impersonating him during the movie. But for a large part of the movie, George Baker, who later became TV's Wexford in the Ruth Rendell series, overdubbed George Lazenby for a great part of that film. You Only Live Twice, not a very good novel, was my favourite Bond film for a long time because it was the first Bond film I'd gone to see in the cinema when I was far too young again to go and see it. And there is the depiction of Japan slightly, well, not racist, maybe stereotype. I don't know. And The Man with the Golden Gun, easily the thinnest plots, really, of the books. Again, the film is nothing like the book. It's the weakest Bond novel and the last one that was published. I believe it was published posthumously. And certainly the last of the 14 Octopussy collection of stories, that was published after Fleming's death. And in this book, there are two stories, Octopussy and The Living Daylights. And again, the film's completely different. So check out the books. They are a good read. Even the weaker ones are worth looking at. Now, before we go on to the books that I'm trying to sell, I want to show you the other set of James Bond paperbacks that I've got, which date from the 1970s. Now, the reason I'm not selling these is because this is my favourite edition of the paperbacks, probably because it's the first one I was introduced to. The first James Bond paperback I bought is within this pile, and I don't want to get rid of them. I've collected them over the years. Didn't quite make the full set, so I've only got 12 volumes of these, and I would love to have the two that are missing. I've not been able to find them. But I'll go through these in order again and maybe tell you why I like them so much. And I think really what I like about them is the still life pictures that they have, which really for me conjure up the spirit of James Bond and the novels, not the films, but the novels. I really do like these. So Casino Royale, again, the picture wraps over onto back. This is Pan Books. Let me just have a look at this. This edition is a 30th printing in 1973. So this is the 1970s edition. Really like that cover. Moonraker, again, playing cards. Wraps over onto the back. Lovely cover. Diamonds Are Forever. From Russia with Love. That's a nice copy I picked up from somewhere. I can't remember where. I got a couple of these at the same time, and somebody has put a thin wedge of tape down the side to protect the edges and along the spine. So that's quite nice. Dr. No, took me some time to find this one. I think this is probably the most recent of the vintage paperbacks that I'd bought. Cost me a couple of quid, which wasn't bad really. So that's Dr. No. Goldfinger, not my favourite of the covers, but it does. If you remember in the film, they've got the golfing sequence with Oddjob and Goldfinger and Sean Connery out on the green. So there we've got the golfing equipment. Thunderball with the cracked visor there. There is an underwater sequence in this novel, which is quite famous. And The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, weirdly, this was the first James Bond paperback I acquired for no other reason than it was there at the time I was starting to get interested in reading these books. Has got a bit of wear on it. I did at the time, very enthusiastically at the time, I was forking out for this clear, transparent, protective backing for my books. That's got on there, rather amateurishly put on, but who cares? I'm keeping it. For Your Eyes Only, again, quite a nice still life on the cover that wraps around to the back. OHMSS. You Only Live Twice. And finally, Octopussy. So the ones that I'm missing on this are Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun. It would be nice to find them. So down to the ones that I'm selling. And in no particular order this time, I'll just take them from the pile and show them to you. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, this is the film tie-in version with George Lazenby on the cover. I think that's quite a desirable edition of it. So check it out on eBay. Please buy it. There it is. Now this one is from the late 80s. There was a uniform edition of the 14 volumes that came out with very similar covers. Again, these have got introductions by famous writers. In this case, Anthony Burgess, he who wrote Clockwork Orange. So probably interesting for at least the introduction. Don't particularly like the cover on this one, but there you are. The Man with the Golden Gun with Roger Moore on the cover. I don't think that's the film poster, but obviously this will have been brought out at around the time of the film. I bought this one second hand, and again, it's got that tape down the side and along the spine. Now here's an early paperback version of Casino Royale. That's a nice cover. I like the green. I like the cards. Picture of Ian Fleming on the back there, looking very Ian Fleming, quite honestly. Another one in the same edition, Moonraker. Not so keen on that cover. I think it's a bit wishy-washy. Ian Fleming on the back, a little bit tatty this one, but it's a good few years old now. Got a slight bit of rippling on the back, which might be water damage. Although, it's a fair copy, a little bit tatty, but a fair copy for its age, really. Diamonds Are Forever. I'm not a great fan of that cover either. Again, I think it's a little bit unarresting, really. And obviously the emphasis here is on James Bond rather than Ian Fleming. OHMSS again. So it's another copy of that I've got. It's got the blood on the snow. I remember when I went to see the film, I think one of the dramatic bits about it is when a man skis into a snowplow, and yeah, that's gruesome. Live and Let Die. Now, this is one that I bought in the 1970s, brand new. Again, I covered it in the clear plastic protecting stuff. And it's got the film poster. I like this one, but how much room have I got on my shelves, really? So if somebody's willing to pay the right price, I'm willing to let it go. It's a nice edition. It's got the film poster on the front. It's got a picture of Roger Moore and Jane Seymour. TV's Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman on the back. This is a nice one. Another film tie-in. This time it's Sean Connery in From Russia with Love, JFK's favourite novel. And this rather nice die-cut cover has these bits cut out of it to make it look like a strip of film, which I quite like. That's very nice. And again, there's more movie stills on the back from Russia with Love. Dr. No. I like this cover. Unfortunately, the spine is slightly sloping here through repeated reading, I think. I'm not sure that I've read this particular volume myself. I've read the book, of course, a couple of times. But that's a nice cover. I do like that one. I think of this particular edition, that would be my favourite of these particular Bond books. Thunderball, again, it's got a die-cut cover with bullet holes this time. Somebody, unfortunately, has used the bullet holes as a stencil to scribble on the cover there, but hey, it's an old book, so it's still quite desirable. And here in this edition, that's probably one of my favourite covers, to be honest. For Your Own Eyes. Sorry, For Your Eyes Only. It's great. It's great. I like that. So again, this is the short story collection, For Your Eyes Only. And finally, of my James Bond books, is The Man with the Golden Gun. That's an okay cover. Again, it's quite a vintage copy. I'll tell you when it came out. I haven't with all of them, but this one it is a second printing from 1967. So the Bond films were out at the time, but they didn't feel the need to have Sean Connery plastered on the cover of all their editions. But really, as I say, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these different editions about. So those are some of the things that are worth looking out for. Now, before I stop, there are just a couple of other things that I wanted to show you. One of which has gone missing now, so let's just look down here. Sorry about this. Let's start here, shall we? This is The Life of Ian Fleming by John Pearson. This is quite a nice book club edition of a volume of biography about Ian Fleming and his role in the Secret Service. He was a naval Secret Service man himself, as you're probably aware. I read John Pearson's book way back in the day, managed to pick this copy up second hand. It's really nice. I'm not going to sell this, but I thought I'd show it to you. And finally, and again, you will notice that this book here, it's a James Bond book written by Robert Markham. It's in that series, that particular edition here. It was the first James Bond book written by somebody other than Ian Fleming after Ian Fleming's death. Robert Markham, as you probably be aware, is actually Kingsley Amis. And again, there are loads of editions of this book out as well. I won't be selling this one. I don't have any other copies of it. There are quite a few copies, different editions of this out as well. The character of Colonel's son was kind of reflected at the beginning of, well, in fact, throughout Pierce Brosnan movie, where he was called Colonel Moon. I can't remember which film it was. Should have done my research better. But that's an interesting one. I like this cover. I think that cover is terrific. It has got price written on it, but I don't care. I'm keeping it. That's lovely. So thanks for listening. I'm sorry for rambling on. I haven't edited this at all because I'm new to this. I don't know how to do editing. I'll learn. Try to do it a bit more professionally in the future. Hope you find this interesting, and hopefully I'll do some more videos for you.